Good day, everyone. This lecture video will wrap up our discussion about communication and identity construction. Earlier, we established that our identity is not only a set of meaningful information about ourselves, but we also established that our identity is fluid and it is also perceived in multiple frames and constructed through and in communication. In this lecture, we will explore how our cultural and social identities are shaped by groups we belong to, the shared meanings that we hold, and the positions that we take in relation to others. We will use the frameworks of the communication theory of identity, social representations theory, and the positioning theory as we go over this discussion. Let's go first with the social identity theory and the communication theory of identity. Our identity is not just personal, it is mainly and primarily social. According to social identity theory, our sense of who we are comes from the groups we belong to. The communication theory of identity builds on this by showing how identity is formed through communication and group membership. We internalize societal norms and practices as part of our identity because from childhood we absorb the rules, values, and traditions of the groups that we belong to. Groups such as family, religion, school, and our uh, community. These norms become integrated and shape how we see ourselves and also how we act. At the same time, the identity we form from our interactions with our society guides us as we distinguish between in group and out group members, defining us as those who share our beliefs and practices, and them or the others as those who are different from our beliefs, values, and attitudes. For example, in the Filipino culture, the family is the basic unit of society. From childhood, we absorb values like respect for elders, or we have um, conservative religious beliefs, and also having patriarchal structures. These become part of our identity when we were kids. But when we encounter people outside these norms, let's say the LGBTQ plus community, when we first saw an LGBTQ plus couple, we may initially react negatively because our family based and religious based identity has taught us to see such relationships as wrong. This shows how group memberships shape our identity and how in group or out group distinctions also influence our perceptions. And this goes to the idea of social representations. Social representations are shared ideas and values that help us interpret the world. They act as collective maps for navigating our social reality. Social representations provide essential resources for constructing our identity because they offer shared frameworks of meaning that individuals draw upon to interpret themselves and their place in society. These representations are not created in isolation, but are collectively produced and maintained within groups, shaping how members understand the world and their roles in it. By relying on common beliefs, values, and practices, individuals can anchor their personal experiences to broader social narratives, ensuring coherence and belonging. Since social representations are group based, they also foster a sense of collective identity that reinforce unity while guiding how us individuals perceive ourselves uh, and others. For example, uh, when lowlanders or tagababa see an Igorot wearing a traditional bahag, many feel fascinated. Sometimes they take pictures or they try to exoticize the Igorot. Why? Because our everyday social representation of normal clothing is Western or modern attire, like wearing pants, wearing a shirt, um, or wearing quote unquote normal clothing. The Igorot's traditional wear becomes an object of curiosity, shaped by the shared ideas of the mainstream Filipino culture. And because we feel curious or fascinated because it is something new to us. It is something that is different to us. This fascination reflects how social representations frame what we see as familiar and unfamiliar. Let us take a look at the social representations theory to expand the concept of social representation. This theory explains how people make sense of the world through shared knowledge and practices. As humans, we apply the process of anchoring, objectification, and consensus to make sense of our interactions and construct our identity as we interact with other people. The first step that we do to make sense of our world and to construct our identity is through anchoring. We connect new experiences to existing social representations. For example, encountering an LGBTQ plus couple is anchored to our prior family-based beliefs about relationships. The next is the objectification where abstract ideas become tangible. Patriarchal values, for instance, are objectified in everyday practices, like fathers being the head of the family. The goal of objectification is showing or putting symbols to it. Once we put symbols, once we put terms to our experiences, it becomes embedded to our everyday lives, to our everyday practices, and even in our conversations. And finally, the consensus, or where representations are maintained through group agreement. This is where, or going back to our example, this is where families reinforce shared beliefs through rituals or through conversations or even in family traditions. So these these social representations are also guided through the process of positioning. Here, positioning is about how individuals and groups place themselves in relation to other people. And it's not just about identity, but also about the roles and positions that we take in social contexts. Positioning can also affirm or challenge our existing identities. For example, when a Filipino student meets uh, an Igorot uh, an Igorot person, they may position themselves as modern compared to the quote unquote traditional Igorot. And this positioning sometimes seem stereotypical because it reflects not only our identity but also power relations. Sometimes we see ourselves or even position ourselves as mainstream. Sometimes we see others as different, and that leads to some negative treatment of other identities. This also leads to the issues when it comes to racism, even issues when it comes to discrimination in general. So, how do we actually position ourselves? We position ourselves because that is how we actually construct our identities. And that means we always make decisions. But we must also take note that we are also flexible when it comes to positioning who we are. Remember that identity is dynamic, and that means it is formed through ongoing interactions and recognitions from other people. So that when we position ourselves, we don't form our identity in isolation. It is always negotiated in our relationships. And we also form relationships not just to fulfill our purpose, but also to get validation or recognition. And that means recognition is vital because being acknowledged as part of a group or being acknowledged for the identity that we express strengthens our understanding about ourselves. And that leads to the transformation of our identity because our identity transforms as we move across different cultural and social groups. So, for example, as Filipinos grow older and interact with diverse communities, we also tend to reposition ourselves. The more we get information about the LGBTQ plus community, our initial negative judgment or our initial discrimination practice uh, may later be transformed, and as we reposition ourselves as an ally after we are exposed to other groups and to their ideas, that means that our identity shifts through these negotiations. As we conclude, we look back at how these theories connect with each other. The communication theory of identity shows identity as communication based and group oriented, while the social representations theory explains how shared ideas shape our perceptions. And our theory of positioning highlights the dynamic process of negotiating our identities. To end this lecture, we look at our identity not only as a set of information, but also a reflection of our choices in decisions. In other words, we actually choose who we are. And the choices that we make are based on the information that we actually have. If we lack information, we also make limited choices and sometimes lead to discrimination because of the limited amount of information that we have. That is why, as humans, we always tend to seek more information so that we get more understanding and that we can also make sense of our world. And that is also reflected as how we communicate, the language that we use to interact with other people. maybe the Maybe we can also look at the language of discrimination or maybe the language of affirmation. So as we reflect, what ways can recognizing in-group or out-group distinctions help us to become more inclusive in our communication? Maybe that is how we end our discussion for topic 2, communication and identity construction, and also to help us be more grounded as we go over to our next discussion, which is communication and culture. Thank you very much for listening to this lecture. I hope you're doing well. Ingat at tumayo kayo at magpakarami. Maraming salamat.